If you want to be that higher self, then act like that higher self. Like, why not put yourself in the shoes of how that person acts right now? Have a healthy balance of thinking, taking action, then reflecting on that action, then take action again with the information you have, then learn from your mistakes, if any, and keep going. And as long as you keep developing that relationship with yourself, your brand will build itself organically. Happy Tuesday to all of my listeners. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to start this off with a cheers. I just want to say that I'm thankful for you guys. By the way, I'm holding a coffee in my hand if you're not watching on YouTube. Cheers. Cheers to gratitude and thankfulness. I was just thinking right before I hopped on this podcast just how awesome it is to have these tools these days where we can just share our thoughts with the world through technology, through this microphone, through camera, through ideas, through a process. And I just think that there's something really, really cool about that. Like, I could see myself, if I were born in like the 1800s, really wishing that I had something like that to be able to express myself. But anyways, how are you today? How is your Tuesday going so far? Hopefully it's going great because, win the morning, you win the day. And if you are having a bad morning, don't beat yourself up. It happens. We're human. And this whole life thing is a process, and it's not going to be the same every day. You're not going to feel great every day, and you're not going to feel bad every day. It goes both ways. Something I like to keep in mind in that regard actually is we overestimate what we can do in a day, and we underestimate what we can do in a year. So don't beat yourself up. If you're having a bad day, hopefully we can turn that bad boy around with this podcast. Something else I thought is just really funny. If you're anything like me, this time of year is crazy in terms of just ashy knuckles. They don't call me Ashton for nothing, right? Ton of ash. Anyways, right now I have such crusty knuckles that it's almost scary. Like, I feel like if I grinded them together, I could start a fire. And right now I don't have any lotion. And so what I've been using in the meantime is Caroline's lotion that she just got for Christmas. My mother got her some new lotion from Bath and Body Works, which smells straight up like a female. But I'm not even mad, because I would rather not see these ashy ass knuckles on my hand. And the other day I went to the gym actually. I walk in the gym and it's full of bros, like nothing but bros. And I'm like, oh shit, because I just put on some lotion. And so now I'm walking in with this highly fragrant lotion. I thought that was funny. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get rid of these ashy knuckles. Anyways, why are we here today? But giving a whole life story. We're here today because you probably want to build a unique brand, whether it be for personal or for a business, and you are having trouble showing up organically. Or maybe you're just wanting to, brush it up and make sure that you're showing up as organic as possible. This was something that I used to struggle with quite a bit. I was so focused on wanting to show up and just put myself out there because I felt like that was what I needed to do. And what I was missing was the internal work, was the creating space for myself to actually find clarity and to understand what it is that I wanted to show up and actually talk about. I was so focused on showing up and just doing that I wasn't doing the internal work that would allow me to show up organically. And so the first step that I have to suggest to make sure that you're showing up organically and building your brand in a unique way is to reduce the amount of content you consume and create space. You have to find solitude if you want to get creative. If you're wanting to really unpack what it is that makes you you, that what makes you unique, and to drive those thoughts for your content, how do you expect to clarify what those thoughts actually are if you're constantly consuming what other people's thoughts are, or what this other person is doing, or just simply distracting yourself with things that aren't even useful? I thought that having those windows open was going to be organic. but it's probably too loud. Your favorite content creators are putting out content because they want to inspire people, they want to create change. So this content can really influence how you think, act, and show up, not only to the online world, but to your day-to-day reality. When you're constantly consuming content, it's almost like someone else is driving the boat. They're dictating what direction to go in. They're telling you what to think, or they are at least heavily influencing the way that you think. I might be I might be doing that right now. So if you're not happy with how you're showing up, consider reducing the amount of information that you're letting in. It's only when you create space that you can actually open up your mind to creativity, to intentionality, and only then can you come up with ideas that could make your brand better and maybe even your life. This could be something as simple as, you know what, I'm going to start every single Monday setting a 10-minute timer and just sitting with my thoughts. Some might call this meditation. This is why I think meditation is very important, especially if you are, really wanting to find clarity and build a unique brand. Meditation offers you that stillness, that creativity, that gap that allows you to be creative. So maybe that could be something you do. Incorporate meditation into your day-to-day. This is definitely something I think could be a byproduct, not a byproduct, but something you can include in your routine. That's just a small little thing that can make a big difference, which in this case would be building a unique brand that actually has a community behind it, a tribe, people who support it. The next thing I would suggest you to do is to do a self-audit on your day-to-day lifestyle. We find our best answers moving forward for the future by reflecting on the past, by reflecting on how we've shown up in the past, because in that we can find clues that can give us more creative options for moving forward. Are there areas in your life where you haven't necessarily shown up for yourself? Are there areas of your life where you have? How did that feel? What was the outcome? Was there anything that we can sort of celebrate or really focus on to try to repeat the process? And if it's on the flip side, what is the thing that we're not really excited about? What is that one thing that we're not too excited about? That maybe it's that video game that we play just a little too much, and it causes just that extra little bit of time that I put towards that video game causes a tailwind of things that I don't like. So let's focus on the thing that causes that, right? But we have to do a self-audit to really understand what that is. Now, the first time I was told to self-audit, it was really like overwhelming because I was like, okay, well, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. But really, it's the minute little details that happen in between those first tasks that come to mind. How long are you in the restroom? Are you scrolling while you're sitting on the toilet? Are we wasting time? Are we consuming content during our lunch break that causes a tailwind of events that we're not super excited about? What are those triggers? What are those things that both good and bad cause good results and cause bad results? That's why it's important to really unpack what your day-to-day lifestyle is and what you're already doing, because you'll be able to find clues. You can also ask yourself a couple questions. I'll offer some that I think are a great starting point. Are you happy with your daily lifestyle? That's the first one. Let's start there. Are you happy? Or are you proud? Are you proud of your daily lifestyle? Now, that's a pretty broad question. There could be things that you are happy about and things that you're not happy about at the same time. So what about your life are you happy with? And what about your life are you not happy with? Those are great questions to think on as a starting point. And is there anything upon reflection that doesn't make you feel fulfilled? Anything? Is there a hidden pattern? And for the flip side as well, what actually makes you feel fulfilled? This will help us be able to catch it in the moment. Whenever that thing pops up or you have the tendency to want to take the phone in the restroom with you, now you know what the cause and effect is, therefore you can prevent the cause. So this works both ways. It's equally important to understand what makes you feel fulfilled, what doesn't, what makes you happy, and what doesn't. And by the way, happiness and fulfillment, I think, are two separate things. I heard something last week that was just beautiful. And it said, the key to fulfillment is through growing and giving. As humans, we seek growth. Growth makes us feel proud of ourselves. But on top of that, being able to give to others makes us feel like we have a stake in the progression of the world, or it makes us feel like we're doing our part. We're leaving a footprint that makes this world a better place. That's a complete tangent, but I thought that was useful. Maybe you can reflect on that and it can be of use to you as well. But back to what we were saying. Is there anything upon reflection that doesn't make you fulfilled? And is there a hidden pattern? Because everything that you do adds up to a feeling about yourself. Every action you take and every decision you take adds up to this overall holistic feeling that you feel about yourself and your life. And it's important to know the difference between the two things. What lifts your life up and what lifts your life down. Next question could be, do you have a habit of wishful thinking without taking action? Oh, I definitely did. Definitely did. This was something I really struggled with. And, at the time too, I will admit that my ego was just inflated for no reason. I had this not perfect. I had this image in my mind of I wanted to be fully successful by age 25. And that caused a big ego. I would sacrifice meaningful moments in relationships to work. Honestly, now that I think about it, I would do that and not even get any valuable work done. So that's no wonder I stayed stuck. But back to you. Do you have a habit of wishful thinking without taking action? Because it's one thing to have your wishes, to have your wishful thinking. But if you're not taking action, then what the hell is the point of wishing it? So check yourself and make sure that you do not have a habit of wishful thinking before taking action, because that can definitely keep you crippled, can definitely keep you stuck. To sum all that up, just try to crush your ego too. Stop making these expectations that cause you to act differently and just not the best in the present moment. The next question is, what's one small step to take next week? You're not going to reap the benefits of meditation as soon as you do it. That's why we have to commit to something, simply for the fact that we know over time this might make a difference. I won't say that it'll definitely make a difference for you, but it is enough to at least give it a shot if it might make a difference, because we're all different. Meditation is not for everybody, and it might not be for you, but you won't find out until you take action and give it a shot. So break it down to one small step that you can take either today, tomorrow, next week, but commit to yourself. Make that promise to yourself. By the way, this kind of stuff that we're talking about right now is exactly what we cover inside the organic video formula. Go figure. The doors should open. Now we're thinking about sometime in February. We're considering January, but I'm feeling like February just might be it. If you're interested, go ahead and head over to the description, and the link should be there for you to click on and sign up. And of course, to learn more. Okay, back to the podcast. All right, the next step to showing up organically and building a unique brand is reflecting on the person that you wish to become. What type of person is this? And we can call this person your higher self. How do they act? What do they think? How do they handle situations? How do they handle tough situations? How do they act when nobody's around? Especially when nobody's around. How do they act under pressure? What do they think about during solitude? How do they treat others? How do they expect others to treat them? What goals do they set? What do they believe? What do they stand for? What habits do they prioritize? What type of lifestyle is this person living behind curtains, behind closed doors? Because that's our most true self, is when nobody's watching, nobody's looking. When you imagine the person that you are, or that you want to become, not who you are right now, but who you want to become, there has to be some higher version of you that is meaningful to you. Now, why is that higher self, that person that you wish to become, meaningful to you? That's also a good question. Why do you want to become that person? But most of all, it's really important to understand how that person acts, thinks, and handles situations right now. Because it's easy to think of your higher self and think, oh, that's going to be me in 5 years, or that's going to be me in 3 years, or 10 years, or 20 years, creating this huge gap that makes it almost hard to reach. But there's something I want to bring up called the law of assumption. The law of assumption, in my words, basically states that you assume that you're already this person right now. Like there's no gap in between. That's who I am right now, or at least I'm going to become my higher self today, as opposed to law of attraction, which is just putting that energy out there that you are attracting this future higher self version of you and that it will become reality at some given time in the future. I feel like that kind of like makes us postpone. And the question is like, why postpone it? Why postpone it? Like I was having a conversation with Caroline about this. She was like, instead of just saying that I want to post more often, why don't I just commit and act like I'm already that person, that successful version of myself that has a monetized channel, is constantly working with brands or whatever it may be, whatever your version of success may be. Why don't I just already show up as that person? And it makes total sense, right? Like why would we expect some magic pill or some snap of the fingers to magically turn us into this higher self? If you want to be that higher self, then act like that higher self. Act like it until it just literally feels natural. Because there's going to be parts of it where it just inevitably doesn't feel natural. Maybe you already know somebody who acts like how you would want your higher self to act. Focus on them. Don't obsess over them, but notice the details. I say lean on the law of assumption as opposed to the law of attraction. I was a huge law of attraction kind of guy, and now it's kind of got me just thinking differently. Like, why not put yourself in the shoes of how that person acts right now? Way more useful in my eyes, and I think it'll definitely move the needle forward a lot quicker. But next, I think it's really important to get clear on what you're passionate about. Get clear on what you're passionate about and make sure that it's not influenced by someone else. Like what is it that you think about in the shower or during your commute or on a walk without technology, or maybe when you're listening to music really deeply? What are those things that your mind tends to revert to? What lights you up and why? Why does this light you up? Like, have you ever said to yourself, damn, where did the time go? Time just flew by. You know how they say like time flies by when you're having fun? Well, usually you're having fun when you're doing something you're passionate about. So what were you doing in that moment? I do believe overall that, at least in the long game, purpose is a lot more worthwhile than passion. But passion is sort of like lighting the fire. Passion is lighting the fire, and purpose is something you find along the way. So start with what you're passionate about. If you have no clue with, what you want to talk about with your brand or show up and talk about often, then start with just what you're passionate about, and don't overcomplicate it either. I used to think that I had to have the perfect niche and the perfect thing all set up beforehand. And it's so funny how when you try so hard for something, it ends up not working. You obsess over something, you try so hard, and the very thing that you end up doing the opposite because of this just like forced intention. Just thinking back to when I was first starting, like I was like such a perfectionist that I actually ended up not really moving the needle forward. But although over this time that I've come to the conclusion that I believe that purpose is more important than passion, sometimes when you're just getting started, it's really difficult to figure out what your purpose is. So lean on what you're passionate about and just start with that, because like I always say on these podcasts, you're only going to learn through doing. You're only going to discover your purpose along the way. And the thing about your purpose is it's going to change as time goes on. It's going to get deeper and deeper and deeper if you wish. And it shouldn't be a matter of like, oh, this is my deep purpose, now I can take action. No, it doesn't work that way. I know that this entire process of building a brand and showing up and starting something new can be a tad bit overwhelming. But like anything else, it is a process. And the best thing you can do right now is to just set that intention of getting clear on what you want out of life. The more you sit with these type of thoughts and the more you give it energy, love, and attention, the more answers you'll be able to find and the more valuable those answers will be over time. But be careful. Don't become too obsessed with solitude. Don't create too much space where all you do is think, analyze, and plan. Have a healthy balance of thinking, taking action, then reflecting on that action, and then take action again with the information that you have. Then learn from your mistakes, if any, and keep going. And don't forget to reflect on the good things that happen too. Celebrate the wins, celebrate the success, celebrate the things that ended up working. Because the more and more you keep doing that, the more and more you're going to inspire yourself to continue the process of growth. And once you reach that growth and you're able to be in a position where you can talk about your experience and share what worked for you, give that to other people. Share that information. Share your advice to the world if there's anything that you want to talk about. And you keep doing both of these things, not only are you going to build a unique brand that helps a lot of people, you're going to find fulfillment. Because if we go back to what I said earlier, the key to fulfillment is growth and giving. So keep growing intentionally, creating space for yourself. Build your personal brand along the way. And as long as you keep developing that relationship with yourself, your brand will build itself organically. Of course, that's not the only piece to the puzzle. Like, we have to be consistent and show up often and encourage things like humility, empathy, community. But what really, really matters, you can be as consistent as can be, but if you're not leaning into your own self-love, your own self-growth, then you might be spiraling in the same spot. So with all that being said, here is your one actionable step to take today. Determine one thing that you're currently doing right now that does not align with your higher self. It could be a specific activity. It could be the amount of time you spend towards a specific activity. Whatever it is, test it out and just intentionally eliminate it. This next week, just eliminate it. Take it out of your schedule. Give it a shot. See how much difference it makes. See if it creates more fulfillment or self-worth or well-being in your life. And if it does, move forward with it and keep testing out these things. Keep testing out these little bits and pieces, those questions that we talked about earlier, where you talked about what makes you happy or what makes you fulfilled and what doesn't make you happy or what doesn't make you fulfilled. Whatever those things that you said don't, eliminate one of those things, not all of them, just one at a time. And then once you feel like you have a comfortable step, move forward with that thing, move to the next, and then the next, and the next. Because baby steps are insane progress over time. So you got this. Get after it. Be mindful. Stay consistent. Take action, but also create space. And over time, you're inevitably going to experience growth. And not only you, but your brand will as well. That's it for today. Thanks so much for listening, and I will see you guys next Tuesday.